It's very seldom that anybody gets the great privilege of chairing something in its 800th year. Nobody I know lives that long. I never knew Methuselah, even as old as I am. But the Magna Carta is very precious to me as an individual because I first saw it as an American boy of 7, at the New York World's Fair, and it was the Lincoln Magna Carta that I saw then. And it made a very big impression on me. It was at the British Exhibition. Then fast forward to 1957 when I was a serving officer in the American Army. For my first visit in this country, on the way back to be discharged, I went to the British Museum and wanted to see the Magna Carta, their copy of the Magna Carta, and the Rosetta Stone, because I believe that those two things were the icons, as we'd call them today, of a civilization. Communication outside the nation and the rule of law and human rights. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was in Trinidad, gave a keynote lecture for a series of seminars and open lectures that'll be going on across 11 Caribbean countries, because when the Queen's private secretary returned from Balmoral 3 years ago, when the questions were put to her, she said, yes, I will be the patron of the Magna Carta Trust, of which I happen to be deputy chairman, and I will be, health willing, on the 15th of June at Runnymede. And I've just come from a Runnymede project board meeting, and that morning she will be there, and there'll be 4,000 or 5,000 people who will be available to ballot, or be allowed to ballot for tickets to be there, in addition to the special guests, the 800 people from the American Bar Association coming over, and what the Queen's private secretary said was, don't forget the Commonwealth. So on every occasion, we're doing the best we can to incorporate the Commonwealth. And I'm very pleased to say that this most recent thing that was in Trinidad was linked across 11 different Caribbean countries. And those countries are all going to be having these seminars, open lectures and the like, that will enable the people of their countries to take part in what the Queen said she would be patron of. The Trails brochure was my brainchild, I'm pleased to report, and it shows how you can pull together a 2-day visit, a 3-day visit, 5 days, up to 5, and you can knit them all together if you're a really keen historian nut or 13th century nut, and you can go around and visit many of the sites and towns where King John was a presence, where the barons were presents. There are 21 towns and villages in England where there's a direct legacy in those towns from where the barons, one of the barons that was there at the time, 800 years ago, either was born there, died there, passed through and waved, whatever it was, but some legitimate reason for them being one of the barons' towns. And there are 10 Magna Carta towns that help to make up the Magna Carta Trust, and they're the places like Durham, like Salisbury, like Lincoln, Hereford, the City of London, of course, that are Magna Carta towns because they have one of the 17 13th century, or Faversham, for instance, which Faversham is in Kent, near Canterbury, where they have a 1300 Magna Carta, which was the version that was passed into law all those years ago following the de Montfort Parliament establishment. Because people will ask me, well, why wasn't it put into law in 1215? Well, the only law was the king. And so it was put into law until he died the next year, because he had it annulled 6 weeks after it was originally agreed. And he knew he was just playing for time, because the barons had defeated his armies and the city of London had betrayed him, and they were keeping the crown jewels. And so there we were. Now, he got those back, but then lost them in the wash, the history tells us. The British Library will have the biggest exhibition that it's ever had. And just this week, I'm going, in fact, tomorrow, from the time this was filmed, on Monday. On Tuesday, I fly to the Library of Congress in Washington, where they're opening the Library of Congress exhibition of the Magna Carta, having borrowed the Lincoln version, the 1215 version of the Lincoln, which is the same one that I saw when I was 7 years old. And I'll be seeing it again on Wednesday.